Hey everyone. I need some advice and I never thought I'd be posting here, but here I am. I guess I should start by giving some background on my situation. I'm a 38-year-old guy, married to my wife, who's 37. We have a 17-year-old son, and my 35-year-old brother, who often helps out with our family. Lately, I've been feeling like something is off with my wife. She's been cold towards me, spending less time with me, and just generally acting distant. But what really got me worried is how she's been taking more initiative towards my best friend Alex. We've all known each other for years, but something about their interactions has been bothering me. Before my last business trip, I decided to install a hidden camera in our living room. I know it sounds extreme, but I needed to find out if my gut feeling was right. I've always had to go on these trips to support my family, and I thought maybe I was just being paranoid because I'm away so often. My wife works as a plumber, and she's always been busy with work herself, but her recent behavior just didn't add up. During this trip, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Every time I called my wife, she sounded exhausted or claimed she was too busy to talk. The same thing happened when I called Alex. Both of them always had some excuse, and it felt like they were avoiding me. I tried not to let it get to me, but it was hard. When I finally got home after those difficult days away, my wife and son greeted me with hugs. It felt good to be back, but I couldn't get my mind off those cameras. As soon as my wife went to work, I checked the footage, and there it was. Alex was over at our house often. They were kissing and talking intimately. There was no outright intimacy, but the kisses were enough to break my heart. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. I needed more evidence before I did anything. So I decided to keep this to myself for now and continue observing. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Should I confront her with what I have or wait until I catch them in a more compromising situation? Any advice on how to handle this would be greatly appreciated. I felt a mix of rage, sadness, and betrayal. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed more evidence. I wasn't ready to throw away 20 years of marriage based on just a few kisses. So, I decided to keep watching and gathering more proof. I spent the next few days in a haze, trying to act normal while keeping an eye on the footage. It was torture, but I needed to know the full extent of what was going on. I had always trusted Emma and Alex completely, and this betrayal cut deep. One night, while reviewing the footage, I saw them again. This time they were sitting on the couch, talking in hushed tones. I turned up the volume, trying to make out their conversation. They talked about me, about how they hadn't had the courage to take things further while I was still suspicious. It was clear they were planning something. My heart raced. I had to do something, but what? I couldn't just confront them without solid proof. I needed a plan. Maybe I could catch them in the act. Something undeniable that would force them to admit what they were doing. Emma continued to act normally around me, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. She didn't know I knew, and that gave me a strange sense of power. I felt like a detective in my own home, watching and waiting for the moment when I could confront them with the truth. Now I'm sitting here alone, wondering what to do next. My life has been turned upside down, and I don't know how to move forward. If anyone has been through something similar, I could really use some advice right now. Hey everyone, back with another update, and things have gone from bad to worse. After my last post, things just kept spiraling, and I don't know where to turn anymore. Here's what's been going on. After Emma went to work one morning, I decided to check her laptop. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than just what I saw on the camera. I found her laptop on the dining table and opened it up, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. As I navigated through her files, I stumbled upon messages from Alex. My heart dropped as I read through their conversation. The messages were worse than I imagined. They weren't just about their time together, they were full of love and intimacy. They talked about how much they missed each other, how they couldn't wait for me to go on another business trip so they could be together again. And there were insults directed at me. Alex called me a fool, saying I was too wrapped up in my work to notice anything. Emma didn't defend me. She just agreed and laughed it off. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was like a nightmare unfolding in front of my eyes. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. I knew I had to get proof, so I took photos of the messages. It felt wrong, invading her privacy like this, but I had no choice. I needed evidence to confront her and protect myself in case things got ugly. With the photos in hand, I went to see a lawyer. I explained everything and showed him the evidence. He looked at the photos and listened to my story, but his expression remained neutral. After I finished, he sighed and told me that while the photos were damning, they weren't enough. He said I needed more concrete evidence of their affair, something undeniable that would hold up in court if it came to that. Hearing that was like a punch to the gut. I felt defeated. I had risked everything to get that evidence, and it still wasn't enough. The lawyer suggested I continue gathering evidence, but I didn't know how much more of this I could take. The thought of continuing to spy on my wife made me sick, but I knew I couldn't stop now. As if things couldn't get worse, my health started to decline. The stress of the situation was taking a toll on me. I couldn't sleep, I barely ate, and I felt constantly on edge. My work suffered, and I knew people were starting to notice. But the worst part was the emotional toll. I felt like I was losing myself, like the man I used to be was slipping away. Then, a family holiday came up. It was a big event, and everyone was going to be there. I knew I couldn't avoid it, so I put on a brave face and went. But it was hard to pretend everything was fine when I felt like my world was falling apart. At the holiday gathering, everyone kept asking how I was doing. They could see I wasn't myself, and they were concerned. I forced a smile and told them I was fine, that I had seen a doctor and was just dealing with some stress. But inside, I was screaming. The betrayal was eating me alive, and I couldn't share it with anyone. I didn't want to ruin the holiday for everyone else, and I wasn't ready to face the fallout yet. One night, while everyone was gathered around, laughing and enjoying each other's company, I felt a pang of sadness. This was my family, the people I loved, and I was hiding this huge secret from them. I wondered what they would think if they knew the truth. Would they support me? Would they blame me for not seeing the signs earlier? The thoughts swirled in my head, making it hard to focus on anything else. I tried to stay present, to enjoy the time with my family, but it was difficult. Every time I saw Emma, I felt a wave of anger and sadness. She acted like nothing was wrong, like she wasn't carrying on an affair right under my nose. It was infuriating, but I couldn't confront her here, not with everyone around. The night dragged on, and I found myself outside, needing some air. I stood alone, looking up at the stars, and wondered how my life had come to this. I had always trusted Emma, always believed we had a solid marriage. Now, I didn't know what to believe. I thought about all the years we had spent together, the good times and the bad. It felt like a different lifetime, like those memories belonged to someone else. The woman I married wasn't the same person who was betraying me now. I didn't recognize her anymore, and that hurt more than anything. As I stood there, lost in my thoughts, my brother came out to join me. He could tell something was wrong and asked if I wanted to talk about it. I was tempted to spill everything, to finally let someone in on the nightmare I was living, but I couldn't do it. Not yet. So I just told him I was feeling overwhelmed with work and that the doctor said I needed to take it easy. He nodded, giving me a look that said he didn't entirely believe me, but he didn't push. That night I barely slept. My mind kept replaying everything I had discovered, and I couldn't find any peace. The next day I tried to act normal, but it was getting harder to keep up the facade. Emma seemed oblivious to my turmoil, continuing to chat and laugh with everyone like nothing was wrong. Eventually, the holiday came to an end, and we all went back to our lives. But the problems I had left behind were still there, waiting for me. I knew I couldn't avoid them forever. I had to find a way to gather more evidence and confront Emma. I needed to put an end to this, for my own sanity if nothing else. In the meantime, I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the pain. But every time I came home, the reality of my situation hit me like a ton of bricks. Emma's betrayal was a constant shadow, looming over everything. I couldn't escape it, no matter how hard I tried. I'm at a loss right now. I don't know what to do next. I feel like I'm drowning, and I don't know how to find my way back to the surface. If anyone has been through something similar, I could really use some advice. How do you gather the strength to keep going when everything feels like it's falling apart? How do you confront someone you once loved with all your heart, knowing it will change everything forever? Any advice would be appreciated. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. Things have progressed significantly since my last post, and I need to get this off my chest. Here's what's been happening. After the family holiday, I knew I couldn't keep this to myself any longer. The stress was killing me, and I needed someone to talk to. I decided to confide in my brother. He's always been someone I could trust, and I knew he would have my back. One evening after Emma had gone to bed, I called my brother over. We sat in the living room and I told him everything. I showed him the messages, the videos, and the photos I had taken. I had never seen him so serious. He looked at me with a mix of anger and concern. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" he asked. "I have no choice," I replied. "I need to know the truth, and I need to protect myself and Jason." He nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "All right, let's come up with a plan." We decided that we needed more concrete evidence. The lawyer had said that what I had wasn't enough, but with my brother's help, I was determined to get what I needed. We came up with a plan: rent a car, follow Emma, and take pictures of everything. The next morning, I rented a car and parked it a few blocks away from our house. My brother and I watched as Emma left for work. We followed her, keeping a safe distance so she wouldn't suspect anything. My heart pounded in my chest as we tailed her, hoping we wouldn't get caught. She didn't go to work. Instead, she drove to a nearby park and waited. A few minutes later, Alex pulled up in his car. They got out and walked together, holding hands and laughing. My brother and I took as many pictures as we could without being seen. It was painful to watch, but I needed this evidence. They eventually got back into their cars and drove to a motel on the outskirts of town. My brother and I followed, taking more pictures as they checked in. We waited for what felt like hours, but we needed to see them leave together. When they finally came out, looking disheveled and guilty, we snapped a few more photos and headed back to the car. I felt a mix of relief and devastation. I finally had the proof I needed, but it also confirmed my worst fears. My brother patted me on the back, trying to offer some comfort. "We've got what we need. Let's take this to the lawyer." The next day, I went back to the lawyer with all the new evidence. He looked through the photos and videos, nodding as he went through them. "This is enough," he said. "We can use this to destroy her case if it comes to that." Hearing that was both a relief and a punch to the gut. I had the evidence, but now I had to confront Emma. I wasn't looking forward to it, but it had to be done. That evening, I waited until Jason was out with friends. I asked Emma to sit down with me in the living room. She looked confused and a little worried. "What's going on?" she asked. "I know," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Know what?" she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I know about you and Alex," I said, feeling a lump in my throat. "I have proof." She looked shocked, then angry. "That's ridiculous," she spat. "Alex and I are just friends. How could you even think that?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos and videos. Her face paled as she looked at them. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She just sat there, staring at the evidence. "Why, Emma?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why did you do this?" She finally found her voice. "It's not what it looks like," she said weakly. "We were just—" "Don't lie to me," I interrupted. "I've seen enough. I know what's been going on." She started to cry, but I couldn't find any sympathy for her. "I can't stay here," I said. "The house belongs to my family, so you need to leave." She nodded, still crying, and went to pack her things. I felt numb as I watched her go. This was the woman I had loved and trusted, and she had betrayed me in the worst way possible. After she left, I called my brother and asked if I could stay with him for a while. He agreed immediately, offering his support. I packed a bag and headed over to his place. It felt strange leaving my own home, but I couldn't stay there with all the memories and the betrayal. The next step was telling Jason. I dreaded this conversation more than anything. I picked him up from school the next day and told him we needed to talk. We drove around for a while until I found a quiet spot where we could park. "Jason, there's something I need to tell you," I began, trying to find the right words. "Your mom and I, things aren't good between us." He looked worried. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath. "Your mom has been seeing someone else. I found out, and I have proof. We're going to have to split up." He was silent for a moment, processing what I had just said. Then he started to cry. "Why?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Why would she do that?" "I don't know," I said, feeling my own tears start to fall. "I don't know, Jason, but I want you to know that none of this is your fault. We both love you very much, and we'll both be here for you." It was hard, watching my son cry and knowing there was nothing I could do to make it better. He took the news hard, and I knew it would take time for him to come to terms with it. We sat in the car for a long time, just talking and crying together. After that, I took him to my brother's house. He needed to be with family, and I couldn't leave him alone with Emma. We hadn't told the rest of the family yet. I wasn't ready for that. I needed time to process everything myself before dealing with their reactions. Right now, I'm just trying to take things one day at a time. It's been incredibly hard, but having my brother's support has been a lifeline. I know I'll get through this, but it's going to be a long, painful journey. If anyone has any advice on how to handle this, especially when it comes to helping Jason cope, I'd really appreciate it. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with, and I could use all the support I can get. Hey everyone, it's been a whirlwind of emotions lately. Since moving in with my brother, I've been trying to find some sense of normalcy. It's been tough, but I wanted to share what's been happening recently. Last weekend, my brother suggested that I take a break and go fishing. I hadn't been fishing in years, and it seemed like a good way to clear my mind. I decided to take Jason with me. He'd been struggling with everything, and I thought some father-son time might help. We got up early, packed our gear, and headed to a nearby lake. The morning was cool and quiet, the perfect escape from the chaos. As we set up our fishing rods, I couldn't help but feel a wave of nostalgia. Fishing had always been a bonding time for us when he was younger, and it felt good to get back to that. We spent the day casting our lines, talking, and just enjoying each other's company. Jason seemed more relaxed, and for the first time in a while, I felt like a father again. We even managed to catch a few fish, which brought some much-needed smiles. It was a reminder that no matter what happens, I still have my son, and our relationship is something Emma can't take away from me. Throughout this ordeal, I've barely been able to focus on work. Searching for evidence and dealing with the fallout had consumed all my energy. But this past week, I finally went back to the office. Surprisingly, being back at work gave me a sense of relief. It was a distraction from the pain and a way to feel useful again. My colleagues noticed I wasn't my usual self, but they were supportive, giving me the space I needed to adjust. I knew it was time to tell my parents about everything. They had no idea I was staying with my brother, and I couldn't keep them in the dark any longer. One evening, I drove over to their house. When I walked in, my mom took one look at me and knew something was wrong. We sat down, and I told them everything. My mom was shocked and heartbroken. She couldn't believe that Emma, who had been like a daughter to her, could betray our family like this. She cried, and seeing her in so much pain was almost unbearable. My dad, on the other hand, had a different reaction. He listened quietly, and then he gave me a lecture about morality and the importance of trust in a marriage. He wasn't trying to make me feel worse. He just wanted me to understand that while Emma's actions were reprehensible, I needed to stay strong for Jason and myself. Their support was overwhelming, and it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I hadn't realized how much I needed their reassurance until that moment. They insisted that I bring Jason over more often, reminding me that we still had a family that loved us. Now, about the court. I dreaded the thought of it, but there was no avoiding it. As much as I wanted to see Emma face the consequences of her actions, the idea of a legal battle was daunting. However, every time I thought about how she would react when she found out she wasn't getting anything, a part of me wanted to be there to see it. I knew it was petty, but I couldn't help it. She had betrayed me in the worst possible way, and seeing her face the reality of her choices would bring some small measure of satisfaction. The lawyer assured me that with the evidence we had, she wouldn't stand a chance. It was a small comfort in an otherwise painful situation. Thank you all for your support and advice. It's been a lifeline during this incredibly difficult time. If anyone has tips on how to handle court proceedings or just how to keep moving forward, I'd really appreciate it. Hey everyone, back with another update. The trial is set to take place in 2 weeks, and I'm gearing up to fight for justice and for the house my parents bought. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, but I'm determined to see this through. I found out that Emma has hired an expensive lawyer. I have no idea how she managed it. Maybe she took out a loan or dipped into some savings. Honestly, I don't care. All I know is that I have to be prepared for a tough battle. Before the trial, I've been trying to spend as much time as possible with Jason and my brother. Weekends have become our time to unwind and find some semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos. We've been going out, trying different activities, Anything to keep our minds off the upcoming trial and the mess that our lives have become. One weekend, we decided to go to an amusement park. Jason had always loved roller coasters, and I thought it would be a good way to bring some joy back into his life. We spent the day riding every coaster we could find, eating junk food, and just enjoying being together. For a few hours, it felt like everything was normal again. Jason was laughing and smiling, and it made me realize how important these moments were for both of us. Another weekend, we went on a hiking trip. We found a beautiful trail not too far from my brother's place. It was a perfect day, with clear skies and a gentle breeze. As we hiked, we talked about everything and nothing: school, friends, plans for the future. It was a chance for Jason to open up and for me to reassure him that no matter what happened, we'd get through it together. During the week, I tried to stay focused on work. It was hard, but throwing myself into my job helped take my mind off the impending trial. I needed to keep my life moving forward, even if it felt like everything was falling apart around me. I know I try to keep these posts brief, and I might miss some details, but writing everything down has been a way to process what's happening and get some clarity. One night, my brother and I stayed up late talking about everything that had happened. He's been my rock through all this, and I couldn't have gotten this far without him. We talked about the trial, what to expect, and how to handle it. He reminded me that no matter what Emma's lawyer throws at us, we have the truth on our side. It was a small comfort, but it helped me feel a bit more prepared for what was coming. As the trial date approached, I spent more time going over the evidence with my lawyer. We reviewed everything: the photos, the videos, the messages. It was painful to relive it all, but it was necessary. I needed to be ready for whatever Emma's lawyer might try to pull. I know the next few weeks are going to be tough, but I'm ready to face them head on. I'm fighting for my son, for our future, and for the house my parents worked so hard to provide. It's going to be a battle, but with the support of my family and the truth on our side, I believe we can get through it. Thanks for all the advice and support you've given me so far. It means the world to know there are people out there who understand what I'm going through. If anyone has any tips on how to stay strong during the trial, or how to support Jason through this, I'd appreciate it. Hey everyone, yesterday was the trial, and I'm here to tell you how it all went down. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and I'm still trying to process everything. The days leading up to the trial were intense. My brother, my parents, and I spent countless hours preparing. We went over every piece of evidence, every detail, making sure we had everything in order. My lawyer was confident, but I was a bundle of nerves. I knew we had a strong case, but there was always that nagging fear that something could go wrong. My family gathered at my brother's house the night before the trial. We wanted to make sure we were all on the same page and to support each other. My mom cooked a big dinner, and we tried to keep the conversation light, but it was impossible to ignore the tension in the air. Jason was quieter than usual, and I knew he was struggling with the reality of what was happening. After dinner, we sat around the living room, going over the plan for the next day. My lawyer joined us, giving a final rundown of what to expect. He reminded us to stay calm, to stick to the facts, and to trust that the truth would prevail. His confidence was reassuring, but I couldn't shake the anxiety that had settled in my stomach. The morning of the trial, we all met at the courthouse. Seeing everyone there, my parents, my brother Jason, gave me a sense of strength. We were a united front, ready to face whatever came our way. Emma arrived shortly after, looking nervous and flustered. She was with her expensive lawyer, a slick-looking guy who exuded arrogance. I couldn't help but wonder how she had managed to afford him, but I pushed the thought aside. It didn't matter now. As we entered the courtroom, the atmosphere was charged with tension. My heart was pounding, and I could see the same anxiety mirrored in Jason's eyes. I gave him a reassuring smile and squeezed his hand, trying to convey that we would get through this together. The trial began, and Emma's lawyer was the first to speak. He tried to paint a picture of her as a devoted wife who had been misunderstood and mistreated. It was hard to sit there and listen to the lies, but I knew our turn would come. When my lawyer presented our evidence, it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. He showed the photos and videos, the messages between Emma and Alex. Each piece of evidence was like a nail in the coffin of her defense. The courtroom was silent as the judge reviewed everything. I could see Emma's face growing paler with each passing moment. She knew she was losing. Then it was my turn to speak. I recounted everything, from the moment I first suspected something was wrong to the day I found the messages on her laptop. I talked about the pain of betrayal, the toll it had taken on Jason and me, and the support of my family. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I needed to tell our story. Emma tried to defend herself, claiming that the messages were taken out of context, that Alex was just a friend. But the evidence was overwhelming. Her lawyer's smug demeanor faded as he realized they were losing. The judge saw through her lies and manipulation, and when he finally gave his verdict, it was a resounding victory for us. Emma lost horribly, even shamefully. The judge ruled in our favor, awarding me full custody of Jason and granting me the house my parents had bought for us. It was a moment of triumph, but also one of immense sadness. The woman I had loved and trusted for so many years had destroyed our family, and now she had to face the consequences. After the trial, we gathered outside the courthouse. My family was there, hugging me, congratulating me, but I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Jason stood by my side, trying to process everything. I looked over and saw Emma standing alone, her face a mask of defeat. Our relatives, who had always been supportive of us, turned away from her. She had betrayed not just me, but everyone who had ever cared about her. It was a bittersweet victory. We had won, but the cost was high. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for what could have been, for the family we had lost. But I knew that we had done the right thing, that we had fought for justice and for the truth. Thank you to everyone who has been following our story and offering support. Your words of encouragement have meant the world to us. Hey everyone, it's been a couple of weeks since the trial, and I wanted to give you one final update before I move on. This will be my last post here, and I hope it provides some closure, not just for me, but for anyone who's been following along. After the trial, Emma went to live with her parents. I haven't heard much from her since, except for one phone call. She called to apologize, but it felt hollow. Maybe she meant it, maybe she didn't. It doesn't really matter anymore. That chapter of my life is over, and I'm focusing on what's ahead. Living a normal life again has been both strange and comforting. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I went back to work full-time and found solace in the routine. My colleagues welcomed me back with open arms, and their support made the transition easier. Work became a refuge, a place where I could feel competent and valued, without the weight of betrayal hanging over me. On the weekends, I spent time with Jason and my brother, enjoying simple things like movie nights, barbecues, and long walks. We even went fishing a few more times. Each trip was a reminder of how important these moments are, how they help heal the wounds left by the chaos of the past few months. Jason has been amazing through all of this. He's shown a strength of spirit that I didn't know was possible for a 17-year-old. Despite everything, he's managed to keep his grades up and stay focused on his goals. He's planning to go to university soon, and I couldn't be prouder. He's thinking about studying engineering, and I believe he'll do great things. His resilience has been a beacon of hope for me, a reminder that we can overcome even the hardest challenges. Living with my brother has been a blessing. He's been my rock, always there to lend an ear or offer advice. We've grown closer through this ordeal, and I'm grateful for his unwavering support. Our late-night conversations about life, love, and everything in between have been therapeutic, helping me process everything that's happened. I've also been reflecting a lot on life. The trial, the betrayal, all of it has made me reevaluate what's truly important. I've realized that I need to live my best life, to focus on what makes me happy and fulfilled. For me, that means spending time with Jason, pursuing my passions, and surrounding myself with people who genuinely care about me. One thing I've learned is the importance of listening to yourself and your loved ones. Throughout this whole ordeal, my family and close friends have been my lifeline. Their advice, support, and love have kept me going. It's easy to get lost in the noise of life, but when you tune into the voices that matter, you find clarity and strength. I want to share a few lessons I've learned through this experience, in case anyone out there is going through something similar. First, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't ignore your gut feelings. Second, don't be afraid to seek help. Whether it's from a lawyer, a therapist, or a trusted friend, reaching out for support can make all the difference. And lastly, remember that you're stronger than you think. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by betrayal and loss, but you have the strength within you to overcome it. In the weeks since the trial, I've been focusing on self-care. I've started exercising regularly, eating healthier, and even picked up a new hobby, painting. It's something I've always wanted to try, and it's been a wonderful way to express myself and find some peace. I'm no Van Gogh, but it's not about the end result. It's about the process and the joy it brings me. Jason and I have also been talking about the future. He's excited about university, and we've been visiting campuses together, exploring his options. It's been a bonding experience for us, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to support him in this new chapter of his life. Seeing him so focused and determined gives me hope for the future. As I wrap up this final update, I want to thank everyone who's been following along, offering advice and support. Your comments and messages have been a source of comfort and strength. Knowing that I'm not alone, that others have faced similar challenges and come out stronger, has been incredibly reassuring. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes it throws you curveballs you never saw coming. But even in the darkest moments, there's always a way forward. It might not be easy, and it might take time, but with the support of loved ones and the determination to keep moving, you can find your way. For anyone out there dealing with betrayal or heartache, remember that it's okay to feel hurt, to feel lost, but don't let it define you. Take the time you need to heal, to find your strength, and to rebuild your life. Trust in yourself and the people who care about you. You're stronger than you know, and you will get through this. In the end, life is about the moments we create, the relationships we nurture, and the love we share. Hold on to those things and let them guide you through the tough times. Live your best life and listen to your heart. Thank you all for being a part of my journey. Take care and be kind to yourselves.